Well, welcome into the Pit, episode number 3. I'm Drew Pavon here from WTVM, and joining us is Aaron Mukes, my other co-host down in Albany, Georgia, WALB. Aaron, a lot to get into this week, and we're going to start off with the news that broke just last week about the Falcons making a change with old Kirko. Kirk Cousins is expected to be released on the new year. Your thoughts when you saw that they're finally going to do it? I feel like we heard that last year when they were going to try to trade him, but it seems this time the new regime is going to get Kirk Cousins cut.
Yeah, I think this is kind of long overdue, right? Probably a year later than most people expected. I think if you're the Falcons, you have to move forward with Michael Penix Jr., at least for this year, and then you kind of maybe reevaluate him with the new regime that's coming in. I think one thing that was kind of interesting to me is having Kirk Cousins as a backup is not a bad thing, right? There's going to be a lot of teams out there that are interested in having a quarterback with his skill set, his experience on their football team. I just think when you're Atlanta and he was your starter before, you kind of have to get him out of the building so that the quarterbacks there know that this is Michael Penix Jr.'s team. And you have a new coach coming in. You have maybe a new offense of system, or at least a new voice in the building that's going to have an overall landscape of what they want this team to look like. And I think when you take that into consideration, Penix's experience, the injury, what else they have around him, I think it's the right time for him. And it gives Kirk Cousins an opportunity to play somewhere else and finish out his career, maybe as like a stopgap starter somewhere, or even a backup somewhere where he can assist another young quarterback. So I think it's the right time. I think the Kirko chains, the saga that is Kirk Cousins coming to an end is a good thing for Atlanta.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a weird 2 years for Kirk Cousins. I mean, signs this huge guaranteed deal with the Falcons. They draft Michael Penix like a month and a half later. He starts the season. They have some success. Wheels kind of fall off for the team, and then Penix is into the starter. Penix gets hurt. Kirko starts like 8 games this year and plays pretty well. I mean, they had that little run there in December, but now it seems like this new regime, I mean, you see it there. 12 games started this season. I mean, he put up decent numbers, but that large salary and then what that old regime did, bringing in Penix, this new coaching staff just wants to free up this cap space and let it all hang out that, okay, hey, Penix is our guy. I think we all in Atlanta kind of feel like, hey, Penix is the dude. We've seen the flashes that this offense could be. The rest of the world, to me, doesn't seem like, okay, Michael Penix isn't guaranteed the guy. Your thoughts on that? I mean, I feel like Penix is pretty good, and he could be the guy for the Falcons going forward.
I think when you look at Michael Penix, I think the tools are there. I mean, he obviously can spin it with the best of them. Always unorthodox lefty quarterback. I feel like we say that a lot about left-handed quarterbacks. They just don't tend to translate as well. You got your right tackle now as your blindside blocker. But Penix, I don't think ever had a problem throwing the football. I think his concerns come from injury related. He's torn that ACL now 3 times. Is he going to be able to stay on the field? Is he going to be able to develop and start to understand the coverages a little bit better? But we saw flashes that I thought were NFL, starting quarterback caliber flashes that he has a future in the league. And I think you have to be excited for that. And then you just need somebody to continue to develop that. There's no excuse about weapons for like some of the other young quarterbacks may have. Drake London, Bijan, Kyle Pitts started to emerge a little bit this year. They have a solid offensive line. They were banged up a little bit this year, but hopefully they'll get some of those guys back. And the defensive improvements that Atlanta made from year 1 to year 2 definitely helped Penix Jr. kind of take that leap. So I expect those trends to continue, and then he'll continue to elevate that level of play. I don't think if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan, you need to be in a hurry to get rid of Michael Penix Jr. And I think Kirk Cousins being there helped him do that, helped him develop a little bit, sitting behind a guy that's seen every coverage and every defense and not surprised by some of that stuff. So I think that bodes well for Atlanta going forward. And I agree with you. I think Penix has a lot of tools that they can work with. And I think the outside world may not have seen what he's actually capable of, but I think going forward they might get a glimpse of that as long as he can come back healthy from that ACL.
No doubt. And that's the tricky part about ACLs, especially a guy who's gone through it before. And you're like, okay, we got to free up this space. And they want to get flexible. Of course, they have Matt Ryan, the new president of football. You want them to be set at the quarterback position because he knows better than anyone. A good quarterback in Atlanta means good things for the team. And this team is loaded offensively. I mean, to Drake, Pitts, if they can be able to keep him, Bijan, a great offensive line. They just got to all tie it together. I think Stefanski can help with that. And obviously bringing in Matt Ryan, a Falcons legend, one of the best quarterbacks to ever roll through the A. It shows pretty much. But let's transition here. I mean, big week last week. On our episode, we talked about signing day and the impact for our areas, and it was a huge day on Wednesday for us over here in the Chattahoochee Valley. I know it was big down there in South Georgia. How many signing days did you have for high school kids, and how many kids put pen to paper to move on to the next level?
Let's just say the gas card was put to use. We were driving around a lot. We had almost 100 sign between the 3 days last week, and we still have more on the way. And that's, again, we cover 54 high schools in the area. It's a lot. It's a lot. But the joy, the excitement surrounding some of the players, and whether it was Power 4 schools like Christian Deuce Lawrence signing to Wake Forest, or Cam Brooks going to Florida State, or it's the little schools of maybe it's the Reinhardts or the shorter universities or some of those, they all had a level of excitement. I think the one standout, though, that I have to give this message to you for us was Albany State. They had a coaching change, a new regime, and Coach came in and he absolutely crushed South Georgia signings. I mean, it seemed like every school we went to had a number of guys that were signing to Albany State. His message was keep South Georgia in South Georgia, and he did a great job of that. We had Thomasville, all three of their kids signed to Albany State. We had Monroe, a number of kids signing to Albany State. So to see that talent that's on Friday nights continue to stay here in the 229 was really special for us.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. Keep the boys in Albany. You got so much talent down there. Albany State has been a force to be reckoned with the past couple of years, and that was thanks to their coach who just ended up leaving. But keep that talent there. They know what it takes to win, and they've seen it. For us, I mean, we had over 120 last week alone, spread over the past 3 days, and we still got about 40 this week. So I was all over the state, from Georgia to Alabama last week, that's for sure. But Aaron, look, we got a big interview coming up next block. Glory, Bryce Kuhn. I sit down with him and talk a little bit about Georgia's new venture. Coming up next on The Pit. Welcome back into The Pit. We got a special guest joining us now, Bryce Kuhn of Glory, the new organization that the University of Georgia has started on last Wednesday, a new third-party marketing arm for Georgia's athletic department, officially launched. Bryce, thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about this new venture for you, and you're now the head director of content for Glory.
Yeah, Drew, appreciate you having me on. It's an interesting time in college athletics with all of the NIL and the revenue sharing era that we've kind of entered. And so, a lot of schools are looking for ways to generate revenue on their own, right? And to compete in the landscape. And Georgia is a team, especially on the football side, that the fans have grown a little bit restless over the past 2 years with the one and done in the college football playoff, and seeing other teams really spend top dollar. And you go out to those Texas schools, the Oregons, the Ohio States of the world, and Georgia wants to be there. And so, Georgia's among a handful of schools now that are really trying to kind of launch, and I guess the best word for it is, internal communications, internal content production. And so that's what we launched. So last Wednesday, Glory, kind of that arm of Georgia that's going to not just help promote the athletics from football, basketball, softball, men and women's basketball, all those as well. But it also kind of gives a lot of these student athletes and these kids an brand as well. So I think that's the biggest part of it. We're seeing a major shift in the media world where outside media still has that place, but as schools scramble to find ways to pay players and pay athletes, this is kind of this new age that's kind of coming about.
Now, I know, we're in here in Columbus, and you're a Columbus guy, and moving back to the state of Georgia and being part of something like this, what was it like to get that call, and why was this the right move for you to join such a new great venture?
Yeah, Drew, I've been down here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana for the past 3 years, and it's been a blessing to cover LSU and, 2 national title baseball teams, a national championship women's basketball program, a Heisman Trophy winner in Jaden Daniels a couple of years ago. And Hey, yeah, you end it with a coaching search where Lane Kiffin just steps to the podium just a couple months ago. So it's been a whirlwind, but you and I've kind of talked before. The opportunity to get back closer to home was always something that was important for my wife and I. We're both from Columbus. I went to Brookstone. She went to Columbus High School. Our parents have taught in the Muskogee County area for so long and been a part of the community. And so to get back home and kind of help galvanize and revolutionize this new venture that college athletics is seeing. It was a great opportunity. We could not turn it down, and we're excited. And we've got a little girl. She's going to be 2 in June, so grandparents are really excited to see her and get her back close to home.
No doubt. It's always good to come back home. But let's talk a little bit more about Glory. What can people expect on a weekly basis from this subscription and this new service that you guys are offering in terms of content?
Yeah, I think it's the goal for this is to be something that you may not find and you won't find anywhere else, right? And that's part of what we're partnering, obviously, with UG Athletics to provide kind of this unrivaled access, behind the scenes, how things happen, those locker room speeches that Kirby Smart loves to give in big time games. But really, the interviews part that I've really been working with is, we're in the middle of a series right now where we have Meet the Transfers and Meet the Early Enrollees. And so it's an opportunity where for fans of Georgia that maybe haven't heard from the new faces on campus, you're going to get that in these interview-style, sit-down interviews that we had a chance to really knock out and record a lot of those here recently. And so we're releasing some more of those here in the next couple of days. We already had one with transfer quarterback Bryson Beaver, and we've got into some really special content coming that way. And then just in terms of getting to know the athletes more, right? I mean, Drew, you know this. There's a special connection between SIDs and the sports that they cover. They know the stories. And so I think one of the biggest things that we are trying to take advantage of is the stories that maybe we don't know, the general public doesn't know, that happen on teams that maybe don't get as much coverage. We're able to kind of tell those stories and be a little bit more creative in the way that we do that storytelling angle. So it's a different access than your subscription sites or maybe your news feed that you're used to, but I think it's going to provide those fans with an opportunity, and we just kind of call it what it is, to be able to utilize your funds and your money to help the school you love while also getting a nice ROI on the back end.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned it earlier. A lot of schools have, started to do this more, create a little bit more media and more content to add to their collective, not just for football, but if it's softball, basketball, and both side men's and women's to 10, no matter what it be. And I know we're in the midst of the basketball season right now. So is there a little something you're doing with Mike White and this Georgia basketball team, as they've been having a pretty good year so far?
Yeah, scored a big win down here in Baton Rouge this past weekend, and yeah, we're doing some sit downs. There's a lot of characters on that team that they want their stories being told. Right, we have a young point guard or a young guard in Smurf Millender who's done a phenomenal job this season, and he has a vlogging that he does a day in the life, and so we're going to be partnering with him and creating some of that content. We're going to be creating some content with some of these guys about not only what they're like on the court, but what are they like off the court as well. So we've got some really cool stories. Like you mentioned, Coach White and this basketball program are in a short amount of time, Drew, have really kind of turned things around, made the NCAA tournament last year for the first time in a decade, and primed to try to challenge for one of those top 4 seeds in the SEC tournament next month.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to go back because you're talking about these new features about getting to know the transfers and these freshmen coming in. That's something you really don't hear about. I mean, like you're on a beat for an SEC team. Like you occasionally get to meet these guys throughout the spring, but get that early access to these guys and get to a little bit about them more than just what the stats were at their former school. What's that been like? I know you touched on it a little bit before, but getting to know these guys. I know this has only been open a week, but I'm sure you guys are starting to get that train moving, but getting to be a part of something early like that.
Yeah, I'll tease this one for Georgia fans to tune into. New running back from Kentucky, Dante Dowdle, avid fisherman. Talks about, how he grew up with his dad down on the Gulf Coast. And, it's not just freshwater fish. He likes to, take it to the saltwater as well. So just stories behind the player. I think that's the biggest thing. And, when you sit across, and you've done this for some time too, when you sit across from athletes and you want them to open up, you talk about, what do you like to do? Let's really dive into that. So we've gotten everything, Drew, from fishing to how good is the golf game, to how Call of Duty has fallen off from times when the kids were younger. So it's been a lot of fun, and just that access that you mentioned, it's just not there. So for us to be able to partner with Georgia Athletics and be able to bring that content, we just feel like it's something that you're not going to find anywhere else. And getting to hear the stories of how these kids got there, and I think one of the big factors that I always kind of love to hear, and I've really tried to put this in some of the interviews we've done, is a lot of these transfers coming from smaller schools. Talk about your journey. Why was it right for you to go to the Group of Five before trying to make the jump to the SEC? And hearing the firsthand encounters of the recruiting process and making decisions. Do I want to go to a Georgia and sit, or do I want to go to an East Carolina? We just talked with Jamarly Riddle, a very, very productive safety at the Group of Five level, and he talked about why that was the best decision for him. And he's a Georgia native, and now he gets to come back home and play for his team that he grew up cheering for. So it's in this world that there's so much bang bang news, you have to be able to ready to kind of crank out. And I think a lot of times we lose a lot of the storytelling aspect, and so that's why this job appealed to me, and I think why it's a lot of Georgia fans will be excited once they sign up and see the content we have.
Yeah, absolutely, and it sounds super exciting just with already what you guys have been churning out, and I'm sure with what's ahead with baseball and basketball, and once spring ball gets going, I know I'm going to be excited to see a little bit more of exclusive content on Kirby Smart, because I feel like that's a guy, I covered Alabama a couple years ago, and you didn't really see a ton on Nick Saban except the occasional SEC network, but Alabama, their exclusive content has put out more stuff on Kalen DeVore, but to see a coach like Kirby Smart, you see those occasional videos that leak on Twitter about him yelling at practice from 3 blocks away on the big screen. Excited to see what that's about. And what, talking about such a great opportunity for yourself, what excites you about these next couple months and this year about this new opportunity?
Yeah, I think when we were talking about a launch date, right, and these conversations were happening in late December, one of the big things was we really want to ramp things up as we get to that new academic year, right, which typically starts around August. And so, we're excited. It's a good opportunity, and it helps a lot that Mike White has a really good basketball team. The women's basketball team has been very, very good. Only of their conference losses are to top 20 teams. So that they've really improved quite dramatically. And then we roll right into baseball season, where you look at any of the rankings, it's a top 15 program that Wes Johnson's going to bring there to Foley Field this year. So we're building with that content. But as you know, Drew, spring football, the summer workouts, fall camp, not every single media member is able to have access to that. And so for us to be able to kind of utilize that as a strength for us, really ramping up into, week 1 of college football, which I think I saw a graphic last night. It's like 201 days away from week 0. We'll see. But it's one of those things where I think as we build up to that launch for football season and really get into that day-to-day grind, we're going to have a nice head of steam behind us. And that was really what we wanted. The early returns have been phenomenal with some of the feedback that we've gotten from donors, from Georgia fans, and, anywhere within the financial contributions that people have made. They have seen a lot of those things. They've been very excited. So just that gradual buildup as we get ready for SEC Media Days, then obviously the first couple weeks of the college football season, that'll be a lot of fun for Georgia fans as they embark on Sanford Stadium. And, another factor of this too is it's not just the content, it's the potential events. We have on our site a list of events that we're going to have. We're going to have some potential tailgate opportunities where there can be, former alumni that come back to campus and participate there. And so I don't know if we'll get NFL MVP Matthew Stafford on campus, but we'll have a lot of fun content. And I think, like I mentioned, it's something that's an experience. It's not just content. It's going to be an experience for people to be able to be a part of. And look, that's why you and myself all kind of fell in love with this business, because we wanted to feel a part of something. That's what makes fandom great. So, no, I know we're really excited about what the vision is in the future for Glory Glory.
All right, Bryce, awesome. Thank you for joining us. Tell us where we can find Glory Glory and sign up for this great exclusive content.
Yeah, you can find us on all your social media platforms there as well, and we all have links there as well. But it's gloryglorygeorgia.com. For dog fans, they're well versed with the fight song, so they know exactly what that means in that there. So no, gloryglorygeorgia.com. You have 3 different tiers that you can choose from that have different perks. As well as an opportunity to go watch practice is available at that as well. So you get all the unrivaled content, the behind-the-scenes access, and we'd love to have you. We've got a message board community over there that's growing as we're talking right now, and so we're excited about that, to come hang out with us and provide that kind of fan-first experience for Georgia fans, which, as Kirby said in his office the other day, it's the best fan base in the world, and we want to be able to kind of reward them for that as we enter this new era of college athletics.
Absolutely, Bryce. The new director of content for Glory, the new UGA, third-party arm of media in this growing NIL industry. Bryce, thanks for joining us on The Pit. Coming up, we'll have more. Me and Aaron will recap the Super Bowl and an interesting end. So that's going to do it. We'll be back right after break. Welcome back into The Pit. Aaron, the big game on Sunday, of course, I'm talking Super Bowl. Seattle defeats New England in a defensive showdown. What'd you think about the game?
Well, there were definitely more fireworks at the halftime show and on social media about the halftime shows than there was in the game. Look, it was a defensive battle, but Seattle's dominance on the defensive side of the ball honestly was next level. The final score, the yardage doesn't really tell the whole picture. This was one of the most dominant defensive performances I've ever seen in the Super Bowl, and I've seen every single one of them since 1990. So it was special. What Coach Mike Macdonald has done with that team, I can't say enough, but it really was about that defense and then Kenneth Walker carrying the torch on offense. It was special.
Yeah, shout out Mike Macdonald, UGA alum, getting the Super Bowl win for the Seattle Seahawks. What he was able to dial up in a historically bad Drake May performance, 3rd worst performance by a quarterback in Super Bowl history. And I think he also ranked as the worst quarterback to play in 3+ games in the playoffs. And that historically bad. I mean, he stat padded in that 4th quarter, but Seattle's defense, man, giving them a lot of problems. New England's defense was good too, but just in the end,
that is why, Drew, that's why you don't crown people before they deserve to be crowned. Let's be honest. We continue to see a good quarterback play well throughout the season, potential MVP, and we want to say he's a top 5 quarterback and a top 3 quarterback. We have to stop doing that to these players. He's still in his sophomore season. He's young. He has time to grow, but we got to stop crowning these guys until they actually show a resume that they can stay consistent. The same thing goes for Sam Darnold or any other quarterback that comes through and is in the Super Bowl next year. If they're young, let these guys just develop and show that consistency before we start saying they're top 5. We've seen it with C.J. Stroud, Jaden Daniels last year. We got to stop. We have to stop.
Aaron, you're absolutely right. And before we go and wrap up this show, I just want to say we were both dead wrong on our predictions. We both took the Pats, and we took them to win in the 20s. They couldn't even score more than 13, barely. But a little swing and a miss by us on that.
I'm happy to be wrong.
It's all right. There's always next year. We get them next time. All right, episode 3 of The Pit in the book. Aaron, Drew Pavon here at WTVM. Thanks for joining and thanks for tuning in. Make sure to tune in next week, same time, same place.